My nerdy classmate cheated on all of her exams, so I exposed her to benefit myself. In high school, there was a girl named May at the top of our class, who was known for being very quiet, timid, nerdy, anxious, antisocial and a bit of a recluse. She had long bushy hair that reached pretty much her backside, and she always brought a messy stack of books and papers to each class, despite not needing them for anything. Everyone felt bad for her. She was seemingly incredibly intelligent but crippled by anxiety and some sense of deep trauma. But one day, in a class we shared, I realized she was writing answers for a test on the desk and covering them with her long hair. If you write on a desk in pencil, it can be easily wiped away with your hand, and that's exactly what she did after the exam. She was a cheater. I talked to another kid in our class, James, and he said, "Oh yeah, May always cheats, everyone pretty much knows that." She would apparently even write answers on the strewn papers in her desk pile. Nobody wanted to get someone like May in trouble, but frankly as someone just outside the top 5 in my class, it made me livid that May could just cheat blatantly with everyone letting it slide, all the way into the valedictorian position. That makes a major difference for scholarships and everything, and we came from a pretty poor area. She was also an officer in the National Honor Society. One day, in the math class me and my friend Kevin shared with May, we had a substitute teacher who didn't really care what we spent the class period doing. So I wrote, in a careful, bubbly print that was nothing like my typical handwriting, a note to May, saying, "Hey, everyone knows you cheat, and if you don't knock it off, we'll be forced to tell the National Honor Society what you did." I don't think I really would have done anything with the note. Of course the fact that I wrote it in different handwriting says differently. But Kevin was joking that he would give the note to May. And I was joking back. But to my shock he did give it to May, by sneakily putting it on the side of her messy desk. She noticed it eventually and must have read it. We had lunch next and May was sobbing, literally losing it at her lunch table. She went to the office after lunch. I started to freak out, because I never thought she'd react like that, and I was someone who never got in trouble. My mother would unalive me if I did. She laid hands on me a lot and looked for any excuse to do so, even chasing me around the house with a rolling pin once. Needless to say, I was terrified of getting called up. I just wanted May to stop cheating. Towards the end of my next class, it happened. My science teacher said I was called to the office and I felt my soul leave my body. I went up and walked into the principal's office. Imagine my shock when he wanted to talk about something completely different. He heard that I was going to beat her up, which was wildly untrue. We both laughed about it and he said he didn't think that was true but had to check. Then he just asked casually, "Before you go, do you have any idea what happened in your math class earlier?" I simply said no idea and tried to be convincing. He said okay and I walked back to class. Later that day, I realized some of May's lunch table group, which was 2 other kids who liked to dress like anime characters, seemed angry with me. May had gone home early but her friends seemed ready to fight me, based on the looks I was being given. I was so anxious that they knew I had written the note. At the very end of the day, I walked into the office and asked the vice principal, my volleyball coach, if I could speak with the principal. He said the principal had already left for the day. I straight up said, "I wrote the note to May, it was me, I lied to the principal earlier." My coach just said okay, I'll tell him tomorrow, and that was the last I ever heard of the situation. I never got in trouble. May never returned to regular classes. I graduated within the top 5 and it absolutely helped me get better scholarships.